a topic that is still unfortunately a little taboo in our society, and that is mental health. Particularly depression. When you get into a funk. Recently, well actually, excuse me, I didn't realize until today that I actually was dealing with depression a week or two, well, let's say 1 to 2 weeks ago. I was just doing things that just wasn't in my nature. And I was just like in a funk, an inexplicable funk, because I hadn't experienced anything traumatic. I hadn't had any drama with anybody. Bills was paid. There was food in the fridge. I was happy. I was living. I've been juicing. Just living what I consider to be my best life. Until this morning I woke up and there was a shift. Again, something that's at the time was a little inexplicable. I didn't really know what the shift was. I didn't know what I was shifting from and what I had shifted to. Well, no, I would say just more so I didn't know what I was shifting from. I just knew that I woke up and I was just feeling I was feeling good, but it wasn't like a feel good, like, you know, you wake up and you're like, man, I'm feeling wonderful. It was just kind of like, it was just something internal. It was just there. It was just there. I actually cleaned up the kitchen, everything from unloading the dishwasher to loading the dishwasher to, you know, of course, putting up all the dishes, including utensils, which I think everyone hates dealing with. So I'm no exception. I did all of this. I swept, I mopped, wiped down the countertops as well as the stove top, and not once, it didn't even cross my mind to complain. Usually, I complain, you know, like grown people can't clean up behind themselves. I'm pissed off, like, why? When I hardly cook, when I barely cook, the most I really do in the kitchen is my juicing. And I clean up directly behind myself. Like, as soon as the juicing is done, you can't even tell that I've been in there juicing. Pills are thrown away, juice isn't left on the counter or on the floor. Everything's just good. So yes, usually when I have to clean the entire kitchen, I'm pissed off. Because it's like, come on, y'all can't clean up behind yourselves, but whatever. Today, I didn't feel none of that. I wasn't upset. I just cleaned the kitchen and borderline, I want to say I was happy to do it. I definitely wasn't upset to do it. And that was unusual. And whatever. So straight from there, you know, I just took my shower and I was meeting my mother for lunch. So between the time that I had showered and time to go meet her, I had some extra time on my hands. And I sat down with my journal. The first thing that I wrote, and the thought hadn't even occurred to me until I sat down and opened the journal to write, was that I was in a depressive mode the past week and a half to 2 weeks. Just basic things wasn't getting done. Things that normally I get done, and I do it with no problem. Even work, which the work that I do now, I love it. When I first began it, I loved it. And it's just like, I'm getting paid just to have fun, do something that I like doing. So it was great, and I worked all the time. Not so much the past couple of weeks. Work felt like a task, and I really didn't know why. Like, where was this attitude coming from? But, you know, I didn't pay no attention. I was sleeping a lot. Like majority of my day, probably out of a 24-hour day, I probably slept about 12 to 13 hours. Overnight, and also including naps during the day. I don't know. I wasn't really leaving the house, although I don't leave the house that often anyway, because, you know, if there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do. But I at least, you know, would run to the store, maybe walk my dog around the neighborhood, And I wasn't doing that. I wouldn't change clothes for more than 24 hours. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I was just thinking like, oh, swell, I'm getting my rest. And I'm doing what I want to do. I'm feeling peace and freedom. And yeah, peace and freedom is really important to me. And I cherish that, those two things. But it's still, it wasn't me. It wasn't really me. So this morning, feeling how I felt, like a little more vibrant, I guess. A little more, I don't know how to say. But this morning when I was on I guess what I would call a high, I realized that I was in a depressive state. I was going through a low the past week and a half. So, to be honest, that thought kind of scared me. Because it scared me because in the midst of, I didn't know. I didn't know where I was. I thought that I was okay. I thought I was just living life. I was happy. But when I finally woke up this morning and there was like a true, like serene sense of happiness, I realized that where I was the past couple of weeks was not right. And it's a little frightening because you wonder, like, could I have been, or I wonder, could I have been even lower than that point and still not have recognized it? I don't know. But to have been at that point and been in the midst of it, that's like being in the midst of a storm and not being able to see, like, this is a storm, I need to take cover. So I just say that I share that because, and here goes why I'm even sharing it. This morning, when I realized all this, it was probably like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Eastern time. I had no plans on sharing that. It was just a revelation for myself that I documented in my journal. But when I sat down and lunch with my mother, and this might have been about noon Eastern time or maybe about 1 p.m. Eastern. And, we had already eaten, we're just chit-chatting, and for whatever reason, I don't even know why I did this. I opened up Instagram, and the first thing that I see is a headline that says, Kate Spade, 55, committed suicide. And the caption went on to, like, speak about depression and speak about, how you should get help and all this and that. And the more, as I sat there, and first of all, my heart dropped. Because I'm just like, what? It's just always like, it gives me a heavy heart to know that someone's experience here on this earth was just that unbearable that they just had to leave. And I think to myself, like, what could make you get to that point? Especially when you see, people that are well-to-do materially. People that have a lot of money, or they have what you think is the perfect job. They have anything that material, that wealth could buy or provide. And then that kind of like leaves those of us that don't have those options thinking like, well, dang, what about us? Like, life is hard. But the truth is, your possessions don't make you. You're not what you own. You're not what how far your money can carry you. You're not how far your name rings or your brand. At the end of the day, we're all honestly just humans. We're all just humans, just trying to find our place here in the world. And what happens when you can't find your place? Even when others try to give you a place or allow you a space in their world, what happens when you yourself just feel as though you have no place and there's really nothing more that you can provide in this lifetime? So I just really want to encourage anybody that's going through anything, or if you feel as though your actions and your behaviors aren't you, if you can see, if you can even get a glimpse of that in the midst of while it's going on, while it's occurring, if you can even just get a small glimpse of that, share that with somebody. You know, like me, hadn't changed clothes in a couple of days, or well, I'll say more than 24 hours, and that's totally not me. You know, maybe that's something worth mentioning, like when I was on the phone with my mom, or I don't know, speaking to my cousin or something, saying like, girl, I haven't even changed clothes since yesterday. You know, it may not ring a bell with you, but it might ring a bell with them to say like, hold on, that's not her. Like, is everything okay? Like, are you all right? And sometimes we just need that to be asked. Sometimes we just need a caring ear. We need a caring voice to be there to kind of snap us out of our funk. So everybody just take care out there, and if you have a therapist that you connect well with, which is very important, because I think I might have let you guys know I had a therapist and I did not connect well with him. He was a very nice man. He always used a very soothing tone. He wasn't pushy on things. Like we would talk about, he would ask questions and I would just give him just enough, and he never really pushed. I think that he has his method, and I think that it probably works well, but for some reason I just wasn't willing to really open up to this guy. But I would love to find a therapist that I could be open with, and that I think maybe that I feel could relate a little bit more with me. So who knows, in the future maybe I'll find one. But I'm just saying all of this to say, if you have a counselor, if you have a preacher, best friend, mother, good coworker that you can depend on, anyone, if you are feeling just not yourself, please mention it to someone. Please talk to someone, and just rest in peace to all of the souls that couldn't find their place here on earth in this lifetime. So, with a heavy heart, I'm signing off today.